Okay, so today we're diving deep into something pretty heavy, right? The potential fallout from how the U.S. is approaching, well, global economics.
Yeah, sanctions, tariffs,
Yeah,
all that good stuff.
exactly. All that good stuff. And the source material we've got, let me tell you, it paints a picture of a world, well, it's changing, a world shifting towards this like multipolar power structure.
Yeah, multiple power centers instead of just one.
Right. But it's not necessarily a smooth transition. I mean, there's potential for some serious bumps along the way, right?
Definitely. And the thing is, some argue that that the U.S. might actually be unintentionally, of course, fueling some of this shift by, leaning so heavily on sanctions and tariffs.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to hold on to their top spot, but might actually be pushing other countries to, I don't know, band together and find ways to like push back.
Right. And some of the potential actions that are mentioned, they're pretty extreme, like seizing Greenland
Hmm.
or even annexing Canada.
Yeah, I saw that. Annexing Canada. I mean, that's pretty wild.
It is. But let's maybe step back from those more extreme scenarios and focus on what's already happening. I mean, look at Venezuela.
Right.
Crippled by sanctions, the economic impact is undeniable. But, and this is important, but there are always ripple effects, right?
The source material even uses this phrase boomerang effect, basically saying that sanctions can end up hurting the country that imposed them.
Exactly. It's not a simple equation. You can't just assume you'll squeeze someone economically and they'll just fall in line. The global economy is way too interconnected for that.
Right. So these actions, they have consequences that go way beyond the intended target.
Absolutely. Think about Russian oil tankers, right?
Yeah.
If they're sanctioned, that disrupts the whole energy market. Prices go up globally, and guess what? U.S. consumers feel that too.
Like a chain reaction.
Yeah, it is. And you also have to consider the geopolitical side of things. Sanctions can push countries right into the arms of U.S. adversaries. Like, look at the growing relationship between Russia and China.
Right. Yeah. It's like you said, it's not as simple as it seems. And speaking of shifting global dynamics, we got to talk about BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, they're really making moves, right?
They are. And what's interesting is they're talking about establishing their own currency, their own trading system, completely independent of the U.S. dollar.
Whoa, hold on. Their own currency. That's a big deal. What would that even look like?
Right. It's a huge undertaking. I mean, just imagine. Global trade, finance, everything operating outside of the U.S. dollar system. That's a major shift in power.
Yeah. And it's mind-blowing to think about. But is it even possible? What are the hurdles they'd have to overcome?
Well, first you got to remember, BRICS, it's a diverse group. They've got different economic interests, different political systems. Yeah.
Getting them all on the same page, agreeing on exchange rates, trade policies. I mean, it's a massive challenge.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole issue of convincing other countries to adopt this new system, to trust it. That's not a given.
Right. It's definitely ambitious, to say the least.
It is. But the fact that they're even talking about it, that's significant, right? It shows a real desire to move away from a U.S.-centric economic system.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder if it's like a direct response to those policies we were talking about earlier, the sanctions, the tariffs.
It could be. If you're constantly being pressured, you're going to look for other options.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's interesting, the source material also mentions bringing American factories back from China. Wasn't that like a big thing back in the 60s and 70s? Outsourcing?
Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah.
Cheaper labor, fewer regulations. China was the go-to for manufacturing. But now there's this push for reshoring, those jobs back to the U.S. But I mean, China's a powerhouse now, right? They're not just manufacturing anymore. They're designing, they're leading in technology.
Exactly. So it's not as simple as just bringing everything back. It'll require massive investment, workforce training, and you'd have to figure out how to make American-made goods competitive again.
Right. Consumers have gotten used to lower prices.
They have. It's a complex issue.
It is. And, it makes you wonder if all this economic tension, if it's pushing former adversaries together, The source material talks about China and Russia forming alliances.
Yeah, and that feeds right into this idea of a multipolar world, where power isn't concentrated in one place, but is distributed among several major players.
Yeah, like a multi-headed dragon.
Kind of, yeah. And, multi-headed dragons, they can be pretty unpredictable.
Huh. That's a good way to put it.
The transition to a multipolar world, it's probably going to be messy. There's going to be competition, friction, instability.
Right, so it's not just like, oh, everyone gets a piece of the pie and everyone's happy.
No, it's not that simple. The challenge is going to be managing all of those dynamics and finding ways to cooperate, even when you're competing.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, okay, let me try to sum this up. We've got potential consequences from U.S. foreign economic policy. We've got the rise of new power structures like BRICS. And we've got a future that's, well, looking pretty complex.
And uncertain. I think that's the main takeaway from all this. We're in a period of transition, and it's going to be a bumpy ride.
It can be a bumpy ride. Well, listeners, I hope you brought your seatbelts.
Yeah.
But really, this whole multipolar world thing, it's fascinating. I mean, if it happens, what does it mean for global stability? Cooperation. It's something to think about, right?
Definitely. A lot to unpack there.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.